So why do you wrestle?
When people look at me, the first thing they see is what's missing. If I win, having one leg won't be the most important thing about me.
So, I was born missing my right leg, and it was kind of crazy because back then they didn't have the technology that they have now. So the doctors did not expect it. And so basically, my mom was there, and they took me out of the operating room. She's like, "Where are you taking my son? I want to see my son."
Mm.
And they came back to her and told her he was born missing his right leg. And growing up, I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why kids and adults would be looking at me as I'm walking down the street. But luckily, I was blessed with an amazing mother who always taught me to not focus on what I didn't have. And so that was
Mm.
just my mentality from here growing up, just do the best of what I had, and that everything was for a reason.
So many of us, we have all these different things going on. And no, I might not be missing a leg, but I had a challenging childhood as well. And with that, how did you get to that point of not moving past it, but channeling that?
I'd say I started to learn that through wrestling when I got introduced to it because, you know, growing up, everyone said, focus on what I couldn't do. But that wrestling mat was my platform to kind of control the narrative of my life. And it's like
Mm.
I have the power now to show people it didn't matter what I didn't have, and it didn't matter what opponent I was facing, whether it was flesh and blood or something else. And I think that's how I see the world. And I think that everyone else in it needs to see it the same way. Yeah, you're going to have a challenge. You're going to have something that's negative or that can hold you back. But what is your mentality and what is your focus throughout all of it? You have the power to respond to an opponent the way you want to respond to it. If you focus
Mm.
on what you can't do, then you're never going to be able to accomplish what you want.
The champ is here! It's a celebration dinner for Anthony!
Your mom in the movie was such a strong mom and was played by J-Lo. I want to know, like, it was your mom just thrilled when they said, okay, J-Lo's going to play your role in the way it came off.
Yeah, she absolutely was excited about it, and I got to break the news to her over the phone, and she didn't believe me. She's like, "You're joking, right? This isn't reality." And but I mean, Jennifer Lopez did an outstanding job just
Mm.
portraying my mom, her strong essence, and I tell people my mom was my mom and my dad growing up. She's my hero, and she's someone I learned so much from as a kid. So to have Jennifer Lopez play her and to really understand her and how important she was to me, it was very special.
Yeah, the bond that you and your mom share. Walk us through how that made you this unstoppable person you are.
It was interesting just growing up because inside my household, my family and especially my mom, she never made missing a leg a big deal. But when I stepped outside of the house, it seemed like everybody else in the world did. They saw
Mm.
me for what I didn't have, and I didn't understand it. But coming home every day from school, when I was doubting myself and just having those self confidence issues, it was my mom that would kind of recharge me again, to go out back in the world. So just continuously doing that throughout my life, it helped me to fight those daily battles.
And your mom experienced domestic violence. Tell me, did seeing that in your household maybe give you that extra fire to become so strong and be able to protect?
It absolutely did. And, I think in wrestling, when I got introduced to wrestling, I used that in a way, just to my extra training to get stronger, to be able to protect my family. And, but, I think I was able to use those negative things as motivation,
Mm.
to find a way to kind of improve myself throughout those trials and things that were thrown my way that could hold me back.
Well, and you lived not only through the like making the team, but you also lived through a time when the program got cut and then it came back. But when it came back, I mean, tell the viewers.
I'll never forget just getting that phone call that it had been cut. I
Yeah.
remember just working at my job at the airport, and my phone was ringing, and so I finally answered one of the calls, and it was actually from a reporter
Mm.
asking, what are your thoughts on ASU dropping their program? And it felt like someone just took the floor out from underneath me. I was like, everything I had worked for was just immediately gone all over again, and that was heartbreaking. But for the Arizona State alumni to come together, the wrestling alumni to basically donate money to self-endow the program for a few years, that was special. It kept me home.
Yes.
They offered me the full ride wrestling scholarship.
Which is huge, a full ride. I was
Absolutely.
still waiting on mine from Baylor. Yeah, and
But
they brought you back, and that's when you really started channeling that inner champion. When did you know that you could win it all?
well, I think coming through as a high school wrestler, it was always my dream to wrestle at the national championship and be a national champ. But I'd say it really mentally just it was something that I felt like it could be a reality my junior year.
Mm.
I think I was always chasing it as a goal, but my junior year, believe it or not, when I lost and I got that stack of letters from the group of third graders, that inspired me to get to the mountaintop because I felt like up until that point I was kind of wrestling to prove a point. proving to try to prove people wrong. Like, you're wrong. I can do this. I can do this.
Right.
But now these kids, they were inspiring me in a way to show them that anything was possible.
Oh, yeah.
And so for me, it was like it was wrestling at a different level for a different cause.
Wow.
It wasn't just a medal anymore. And so that for me is like, man, I'm gonna go out there, just give it my all. And I felt like, it was special my senior year.
It was very special. I felt like when I was watching, I was there with you. I was chanting with everybody else. I do want to go to this point though that you said, and it was about the goal, and that like if you don't have the dream to chase after, what am I doing? And this is a moment where I felt like, okay, did you have to cultivate another dream after that? Because as we know, college does come to an end. How did you, after graduation, reformat kind of what your dream was?
Yeah, that was a difficult time in my life. I remember winning my championship and thinking, what do I do next? What's next in my life? And it was actually a credit to one of my assistant wrestling coaches at ASU. And I'm talking to him and telling him I'm trying to figure things out. He's like, well, you know what? Those kids really touched your life. Why don't you use that, and try to touch others? And so I really started to look into public speaking and really just trying to give back.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be where I am today without those special people in my life, like my mom, like my coaches, those kids. They motivated me, when I needed it. And it's like, if I could do that for someone else, that'd be a really cool way to live and to give back.
In the movie, we saw that a box of cards came your way of just like people that saw you persevere through your way to win. When you first got in, you went on as a walk-on and you had a whole other scholarship somewhere else. That's another big decision that you had to make. Is it just because you doubled down on yourself?
I did, and it was weird because I remember, coming out of high school and just, I in a way, I felt very disrespected just because I felt like I had the resume. I was a high school state champ. I had great grades, and the colleges still didn't recruit me, and for what they saw as something that could hold me back. And so, that to me was something, it was extra motivation, and people thought I was crazy when I turned down Drexel. And, I was telling myself in my head I was crazy, but I just remember this voice in my head saying, you're not supposed to be there, that this isn't home for you. And, it was very important for me to be around my family. I felt like they were my strength, but also I wanted to be their protector at certain points. And so to be home, it was definitely a harder journey to go through, but it was worth it. And I think looking back on that journey, the challenges, the trials, it made me stronger. And so I'm grateful for that now. And actually, my mom and I, we started our own foundation charity, the Robles Unstoppable Foundation.
Unstoppable Foundation, and, yes.
We're just trying to really give back to our community.
Wow.
And I know there's people, like I said, they're wrestling through things in their lives. And I would say that everyone reaches their breaking point at certain times in their life. But that's normal. That's what makes you human. But the key thing is take a moment. When you get to that point, just take a moment, take a breath, and ask yourself, how am I going to respond to this? Because there might be a list of reasons to where you can't accomplish your goal, but there might be one reason to where you can actually accomplish it. So focus on that one thing. Focus on that one thing in your life that you have, and just use that to your advantage to the very end. Because you could be that 1%. You could be the one with the missing leg who becomes the national champ, but it's going to start and it's going to end up here.
You are a true champion inside and out. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Give you a little hug. I know you're so great.